I'd like to call the September 19th, 2023 Board of Commissioners business meeting to order. As always, we'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. And this evening, we have the pleasure of Greg Landis, one of our representatives from Merck, leading us in the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Greg. Deanna, will you do the roll call?
Denise Hall, President.
Here.
Catherine Carter, Vice President.
Here.
Liz McNaney, Commissioner.
Here.
Martha Similaro, Commissioner.
Here.
Ruth Damsker, Commissioner.
Here.
Sandra Zadell, Township Manager.
Here.
Megan Weaver, Assistant Township Manager. Here. Lauren Gallagher, Township Solicitor.
Here.
Nicholas Cross, Township Engineer.
Here.
David Duffy, Chief of Police. Here. And it is noted that Zoning Officer Van Reeker and Finance Director Nathan Crittenton are absent.
Thank you, Deanna. Lauren, were there any executive sessions?
There are no executive sessions to report this evening.
Thank you, Lauren. Before we move on to agenda item number 5 this evening, I have a statement to read. It was brought to our attention that we made an error when adopting the map amendment related to the Walters Group application last month. The solicitor has advised that if the applicant would like to proceed with the project, the map amendment will need to be re-advertised and reconsidered at a future date. At this time, no action is pending. If and when the applicant would like to proceed, we will make an announcement accordingly. The text amendment is not impacted by the error, and we will not be taking further action on the text amendment. Next up, we have several township employees who are marking a significant number of years of service to our township. First, we'd like to recognize Colleen Tranowski, who has worked for Upper Gwynedd Township for 20 years. We're very grateful for all she's done for UGT. Her supervisor, Megan Weaver, had these nice words to say about Colleen. Colleen started out at the township as a receptionist before moving to the Codes and Zoning Department about 7 years ago. Colleen, as the Codes and Zoning Clerk, handles many tasks for the department, including permit entry, assisting the Zoning Hearing Board, Planning Commission, and administrative assistant to her 2 favorite people, the Codes Officer and Zoning Officer, Van and Dan. On a personal note, Colleen is an avid animal lover and rescuer. She is the mom to 4 boys and soon-to-be grandmother to a little granddaughter. We are lucky to have had Colleen dedicate so many years to UGT, and we look forward to more. Colleen was unable to join us this evening, but if you could please join me in giving her a round of applause. For our next employee recognition, I'll turn it over to our Public Works Liaison, Commissioner McNaney.
Thank you. Tonight, we also want to recognize Denny Gerhardt for 40 years of service to the township, and he is unable to attend this evening as well. Denny started in September of 1983. Don't comment on that, Sandra. Denny is very knowledgeable about concrete and construction. He's very thorough on his work. He's willing to assist any department or individual. He's very dependable and on time, and he gives his thoughts on projects. All of these things make him a wonderful asset to our Upper Gwynedd family. Few times I've had the privilege of talking with him. Just the knowledge that he and some of the others have of our township after 40 years is absolutely amazing. So congratulations to Denny for 40 years.
And he is not here either this evening, but please join us in giving him a round of applause. Moving on to the retirement of one of our police sergeants, I'll turn it over to our police liaison, Commissioner Carter.
Thank you. Ben Townsend served in the United States Air Force before joining Upper Gwynedd Township as a patrol officer on June 20th, 1994. He was assigned to the Detective Division from 2002 to 2004. In 2004, Townsend was promoted to sergeant and assigned to the Patrol Division, where he supervised the squad. Sergeant Townsend coordinated information technology and computer integration for the department. He also served as the uniform quartermaster when the department transitioned to the current, more formal uniforms in 2008, and continued handling uniform and equipment maintenance issues for several years after that. He is also the recipient of the Meritorious Service Medal in 2003 and several service commendations. We'd like to thank Sergeant Townsend for his many years of service to the township and wish him a very happy and healthy retirement.
Thank you. Next up, we have the public comments. Please state your name and if you are a resident or non-resident when you come to the mic. Thank you for respecting the 5-minute rule and practicing decorum. Our goal is always to give you the most complete and correct answers to your questions from our staff who are experts in each of their areas. For that reason, you have the option of enclosing your email address in the registry if you would like us to reach out to you during the week with full answers to your questions. We have had some residents who were concerned that if we answered the questions offline, so to speak, then the residents who wanted to hear the answers publicly would be left out. So we will continue to share any answers to questions that were posed publicly but were answered privately at the following public meeting. First up for public comment this evening is Linda Smith. Sure.
Hi, I'm Linda Smith, 815 McIntosh Way, Upper Gwynedd. My comments tonight is just in response to Denise, your comments on August the 22nd meeting. You started out by saying that you listen, and you may be listening to developers who've been trying to sell this project for the past 2 years. The Walters Group is not doing this to help people. They're looking to make money, so let's make that clear. They started out with selling it to you, the commissioners, and you expressed early on that you would work with the developer on this project. The commissioners and the developer worked to sell it to the planning commission, and then for approximately the past year, worked to sell it to the Upper Gwynedd residents. You listened to the county, which is where it originated, to solve the homeless problems of Norristown, Pottstown, Philadelphia, but not Upper Gwynedd. You mentioned you spoke to former commissioners who compared the Pembroke Parkway project to Station Square, or whatever the new name is across the street. You said they never mentioned it being approved so the developer could clean up a Superfund site. And this seems questionable to me, considering that this cleanup was the reason the project was approved. You compare Pembroke Parkway to Station Square on multiple occasions. Pembroke Parkway is a subsidized project where Station Square is market rate. That is the main difference between these two projects. You mentioned that the traffic study, which was done by the developer, said that the car traffic would not increase, and approving residential zoning for these 6 acres instead of light industrial will actually help the diesel truck traffic. And I've lived in Upper Gwynedd for 30 years, and I traveled Church Road countless times. And despite the half mile of light industrial zoning on Church Road, I cannot remember ever seeing a diesel truck. And over the summer, even though you canceled the workshop meetings because of a vacation, 80 to 100 Upper Gwynedd residents came out for 3 months to voice their opposition to this project. Most, if not all of these residents had no idea that this was being considered until we informed them about it. At the last meeting on August 22nd, you put out an all-point bulletin to Democrats to join the meeting to speak in support of what is happening in Upper Gwynedd. Only a few Upper Gwynedd residents spoke in favor of this project, where tens of residents spoke against it. Giving over an hour to non-residents from the county agencies to speak about this project was inconsiderate, in my opinion, because it doesn't affect them. They don't live in Upper Gwynedd. Some were from Lansdale Borough. And I'm wondering, who are you sending over to Lansdale Council meetings to urge their borough council to promote TOD workforce housing at the Rite Aid site at Main and Broad? It's far better than the TOD at 1500 Pembroke Parkway, in my opinion. Now, criminal background checks you mentioned and cameras, but they don't always guarantee safety. We own an apartment directly above our business in the borough, and despite all of our precautions we took, there was prostitution occurring in that apartment several years ago. And with the train stop from Philadelphia is within walking distance of Pembroke Parkway project, that's going to bring drugs, crime, and more. And as I recall, there are several apartments for the lower income housing. And this project is subsidized because the banks are giving tax credits, which makes the rents lower. There's no way to know how many North Penn students will be living in each apartment. This will directly affect Upper Gwynedd residents who send their children to Gwynedd Square, Penndale, and North Penn High School. And lastly, I'd like to respond to your closing remarks. You said you were appalled and embarrassed of the people you serve some of whom voted for you in Upper Gwynedd. You said that just because we do not want to urbanize our beautiful township and bring problems of the city into our peaceful community, that we don't have respect for people. Upper Gwynedd does not have a housing crisis, and it is 97% built out. Our residents do not want to solve the problems for other townships, and that doesn't mean we're selfish or uncaring. This project was originally presented for legal Upper Gwynedd residents who have a job and can't find housing in Upper Gwynedd. In reality, the tenants of this project do not have to be legal, do not have to have a job, and do not have to be from Upper Gwynedd. And the developer and the commissioners have not been honest with the residents about this. And I believe in helping people. Believe me, I help a lot of people, but I don't enable them. Those of us with young adult children want to support them, but we need to teach them to work hard for what they earn. It may mean they have to get one or more roommates in order to afford an apartment. It may mean they get a second job. When we work hard, leads to success, helps build goals, makes us a better person, makes us smarter, learn new things, develop self-confidence and self-discipline, helps us avoid regret and unlock the best opportunities. A person may not start off in a high-end apartment with a clubhouse, like this project, but when they earn the right to live there, it brings so much more. We all make choices in life. It is our responsibility to create our own success and not rely on others to do it for us. Your job as elected commissioners is not to promote a political agenda. The founding fathers, as you called them, did not think of anything except what was good for Upper Gwynedd Township. Founding fathers, which means the former
Thank you,
commissioners.
Linda.
I think if you're honest with yourself, you would
Next
say
up.
this would not help Upper Gwynedd Township.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you, Linda. If we could just try to practice that 5-minute rule so everyone has a chance to speak, that would be ideal. Next up for public comment is Vera Jacob.
Okay, Jacob, State Street. It's interesting that the room out there is empty. Interesting, I think Denise Hall, the high priestess of Upper Gwynedd, and the 4 priestesses didn't send out a call to action to the zombie land like the last one, where they all shuffled in like zombies with their armor of signs, stop racism, stop hate, trying to be suburban Antifa. I wonder why these labels like racist, bigot, hate, homophobe, transphobe, Islamophobe, Nazi, fascist, xenophobe, etc. have become the main call of the left, aka Democrats. Agree with us or we'll label you and attack your character. The woke believe race is the first and foremost thing you should always see everywhere, which is interesting because that used to be the position of the KKK, and opposing high-density affordable housing isn't racist. Assuming only minorities benefit is the real prejudice. You had to put a call to action because you had no support from majority of the residents of Upper Gwynedd. Out of the people who spoke in favor of this project, a total of 20, only 6 were residents of Upper Gwynedd and 14 were non-residents. Of the 14 people who spoke against this project, all were residents of Upper Gwynedd. As Americans, we are supposed to bring our grievances to our elected officials, even when they are clueless and not fit to hold their office. As we Americans have been doing for more than 18 months at every meeting, the un-American way is to put a call to action, and Democrats who never showed up previously for other township meetings to come for one day for optics to show you have a majority of support. You all should be ashamed of yourself. Heck, even some North Point school board members showed up, the same ones who are running a school district in the ground with the woke agenda. We were ranked 4th, and this board took over. We are 29th now and sinking. Our fight against this project is not so much as affordable housing, but the underlying issue of illegal spot zoning. You can dress it up with all kinds of shenanigans to fool people and deny it's not, but can't escape from the fact that it's spot zoning. Many of the out-of-township residents who showed up don't even comprehend the issue we are fighting for. For them, a call was put out, and like zombies, they had to show up with signs. For example, me, a brown person, the black lady who spoke against this project, are suddenly racist? How brainless and stupid is that? Sign said, stop the hate. Zombies don't get it. It's not hate, but love for our township, for our community, and residents who live here and their future. This has been a political agenda all along, even if you denied it. acted as it wasn't, but we all saw right through it. Liz, you're a better actor than Denise Hall. Denise, you need to take some acting lessons from Liz. The mask came off in the last meeting when you had to call Democrats from all over instead of the residents of Upper Gwynedd. And of all the people who spoke in favor of this project were all Democrats, and the one who were against were a mix of Democrat, Republicans, and independent residents of Upper Gwynedd. Elections are in November, and you people cannot win on policy, so you will play the dirty game of labeling other candidates and throwing dirt at them and attacking their character. And finally, America was always based on meritocracy, not handouts, which made America the greatest country on earth. You get what you worked hard for, not what you desire, or when corrupt politicians bribe you with free stuff for votes. Taking from hardworking folks that definitely don't build character. And it was appalling that Denise, the high priestess of Upper Gwynedd, would tap down to the hardworking taxpayers of this township as some illiterate lowlifes. I wish I had more than 5 minutes because I would have enlightened you and educated you on what actually builds character, and it's definitely not your virtue signaling to your tribe. Stop ruining America and the township based on your un-American ideologies. We Americans will not let you destroy America and its value. We love our country and our township. Thank you.
I'd like to make an announcement for the commenters. The public won't be able to hear you commenting if you're talking this close to the microphone. It causes distortion, so we're going to move it back. So just if you're coming up to comment, make sure that you're a little further away from the microphone so that we can hear you more clearly. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra. Thank you, Vera. Next up, we have Pat Pino.
Good evening. Okay, I just have a couple questions. Did the Walters Group receive any funds, state or federal, that are derived through the following: Home Funds Program, Health Choice Housing Reinvestment Fund, and Affordable Housing Trust Fund, also known as AHTF? That's, I don't know if you can
We won't be able to answer that because we're not the Walters Group and we're not intricately involved in their funding, but I can follow up. If we have your email, excuse me, I will follow up and get you the answer.
We do.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Pat. Next up is Nancy Thomas.
Hello, Nancy Thomas, Upper Gwynedd. I don't have a speech, but I was at one meeting and they were talking about this land. And I decided to figure out where it was. So I guess between then and now, I took a ride over the park. You make a left where that Dooley brick building is and you go all the way in the back. And it just really surprised me that it was behind businesses with all these trucks. And here's this little plot of green grass for sale, 5 acres. And I'm like, they're going to put these houses next to a parking lot with trucks and vans? And I just thought it was a really strange area to have people living. And that's all I want to say.
Thank you, Nancy.
Okay.
Next up, we have Justin Griffith.
Good evening. My name is Justin Griffith. I've been a resident of Upper Gwynedd for 18 years. I'm not going to go off on any tangents or anything. I think I've been coming to these meetings all summer, and I've watched the commissioners with your contemptuous looks for people who live in my neighborhood for the simple fact that they are against this project. So I'd like to talk a little bit about this Trojan horse that they call the low-income housing tax credit. So I got all my information from Government Accountability Office, Congressional Research, Virginia Housing Authority, Harvard University, et cetera. This low-income housing tax credit insists it is not subsidized housing. They're somewhat correct. But what they aren't telling you is that this low-income housing tax credit It's nothing more than a special interest tax break for developers, corporations, and it's rife with abuse and corruption. The benefits of this tax credit are supposed to flow through to tenants in the form of cheap rent. But studies suggest that investors, developers, and financial companies are the ones who gain the most benefits from this money. U.S. government allots $9 billion a year in tax credits to states, housing agencies based on population. These entities then distribute the money to selected developers. Developers who receive these credits nearly always sell them to large banks and other investors using syndicate firms as intermediaries. It's interesting because this provides cash to developers for their construction and gives investors equity in the project. The complexity of the regulations and rules that are associated with this increase cost and delays. This is not your run-of-the-mill construction. It's going to go over budget and it's going to go over time. When the state of Washington studied these affordable housing projects, they generally found out that it takes generally twice as long to assemble the financing as opposed to market rate projects. Some of these LIHTC projects per unit rent can be more than double that of a market rate unit, the cost of construction that is. And one of the problems in the LIHTC, low-income housing tax credit, is they're financed on a cost-plus basis, meaning it's estimates they go on. Could cost this much, could cost this much. So these developers take advantage of that, and they sit there and they just keep on filing for tax credits. Oh, we're running, this got more expensive, inflation, the supply chain, and it's never ending. The program is aimed at helping people, but the bulk of the administrative costs go to lawyers, accountants, and developers, not workforce. So the LIHTC benefit investors and businesses or low-income families. Well, Congressional Budget Office said the tax credit may allow investors to capture as much of the benefits for themselves rather than their tenants. That's Congressional Budget Office said that. Tenants abuse the program by occupying units they are not eligible for, often by claiming false income levels or on disclosure forms. Developers abuse the program by inflating costs. Government officials abuse LIHTC for personal gain. Because states receive a limited amount of money of the much valued credits, they are handed out in a discretionary manner to developers. This creates open invitation for corruption. In California state, the state treasurer helps steer millions of these tax credits to developers that then donated tens of thousands of dollars to that treasurer's gubernatorial campaign through intermediaries and subcontractors. So they didn't see where the money was coming from. But the oversight in the federal and state level make it susceptible to abuse. There's very little of it. And you can sit there and say that, oh, we're going to keep on this and they're going to do this. They don't. It'll last a couple of years, and then this company will sell this property to another company. NPR interviewed Assistant U.S. Attorney Michael Sherwin, who tracked LIHTC for years. And he said, in quote, "The program has been described as a subterranean ATM, and only developers know the PIN." Thank you.
Thank you, Justin. Next up, we have Carl Vorwerk.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, my name's Carl Vorwerk. I am a resident of Upper Gwynedd. I've been attending various workshops here and Board of Commissioner meetings whenever possible. What I have noticed that during the most recent series of zoning hearings and board meetings here, that residents of, and particularly a representative from the borough of Lansdale has been in attendance offering his opinions and advice for the rezoning efforts of the light industrial area of the Upper Gwynedd Township. Does the board have a reciprocal member designated to attend the Lansdale Borough meetings? If yes, who is it, please? So we don't have anybody.
Is that rhetorical?
No, I'm asking.
The answer is no.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
All right. Well, if we would have one, I would like that person to be advising the Borough Commissioners of Lansdale for affordable housing. What I have in mind for Lansdale is there's property on the southwest corner side of Broad Street in Maine. It used to be the Tremont Hotel. If you've been a long resident here, you would know that. Most recently, it's been a Rite Aid pharmacy, which is now defunct. The site was of residential use and is surrounded by other properties for the same purpose. Apartments are directly overhead of the first floor businesses on Main Street. And unlike the proposed spot zoning approved by this board last month, it's more appropriate selection for the stated intent of affordable, low-income subsidized housing within Montgomery County. It does not require spot zoning for redevelopment of this property. There's infrastructure and utilities are currently available to the former Tremont Hotel site. All these will have to be created, of course, to the proposed Pembroke fiasco that we have going on. With this, for me, this would also avoid impact on the ecosystem along the Stony Brook freight line, along that entire corridor. Site of the Tremont is centrally located within the Lansdale Business District. It contains multiple small businesses, which are currently advertising employment opportunities, which in walkable distance of the former Tremont. Set within the Lansdale Business District is established neighborhoods, okay? They're food stores, some even with ethnic specialties, right? There's a supermarket within walking distance on Main Street versus the arduous journey that somebody brought up that would be encountered by a resident over at the Parkway to reach the single supermarket within Upper Gwynedd Township. Within a few blocks of this location, there are multiple denominational houses of worship. There's not going to be anything planned over there for that. This is an overlooked essential piece of a community, houses of worship. There are health and wellness centers nearby over in Lansdale, as well as Lansdale Abington Hospital. On the same side of Main Street, across the railroad tracks, is a SEPTA bus station hub. On the opposite side is the Lansdale Commuter Rail Station. Both are within easy walking distance of this site, and it's a perfect TOD situation. Again, therefore, there would no need for the 120 plus additional parking spaces to be created for tenants over at the proposed Parkway. That's going to reduce impact on the ecosystem again, with water runoff, drainage, contamination from motor vehicle deposits, okay, oil, gasoline leakages, yes. I implore you to ask the county commissioners to consider transferring the Walters Group federal and state subsidies to a project that would better be suited at the Broad and Main Street location in Lansdale. And now I do ask this question, why does it appear that it's the intent of this board to shoulder the burden of addressing the county's agenda on its own? I'm not aware, from where I've gone, that there are any other boards in the area that is as accommodating as this board is, and that's including the Board of Lansdale for this issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Carl. Next up, we have Glenn Hatfield.
Hi, I'm Glenn Hatfield. I'm a resident. First of all, I think Carl did a great job. Maybe did a lot of your homework for you guys. If you want to go to Lansdale and pitch that idea, he can probably give you his notes. I just have I want to make a quick comment, and then I have a quick question for you. Denise, I did find your comments at that 822 meeting very divisive and very regrettable. I think the purpose of your comments, honestly, were to discourage free speech in the township. Township residents took time out of their busy schedules. They came out to multiple meetings. They tried to tell you what they thought. Obviously, you didn't like what they said. They're not public speakers any more than I am, or a lot of people here, but they did their best. And I thought you did was hurtful, and I really think you tried to discourage them from coming out in the future to give you their ideas. And I think you should regret that. My question for you, though, is I want to know, does the township currently have any legal opinions that supports the legality of the ordinances 2023-02 and 2023-03, which obviously didn't pass, but either one of those ordinances, do you have legal opinions that say that it's not spot zoning, that's legal and constitutional?
Yes, my office says that opinion
You do have a legal opinion? Can you tell me who it's from?
from me.
Oh, okay. Do we get a copy of that by any chance?
No, that's the attorney-client privilege information.
Okay, but it's not transparent. The board prides itself on transparency. When do we actually get to see that?
I've stated publicly several times that it is our opinion, based on a review of the available information, this is not spot zoning.
Again, I think the public has some interest in knowing what that's based on. Can you give us any indication? Is there some legal precedent? Is there a special law that obviously a lawyer would know?
There is, but I'm not at liberty to share that.
Well, I would encourage you again to share that with the public as soon as possible. I think that's our right to know that. Thank you.
Thank you, Glenn. Does anyone else have any other public comments they'd like to make before we close it? Mark, before Mark speaks, sorry, Mark, is there anybody else who would like to make a public comment, or just Mark? Okay, then Mark will be the last person. Sorry, Mark. Go ahead.
Hi, Mark Connolly, 11 Carney Drive. So I just have some questions. So when developers submit applications for land development zoning, what financial information are they required to provide the township? So, for example, do they have to provide, evidence of how they're funding projects, where the money is coming from? Do they have to provide, I believe they might have to provide bonds in some cases, but could you go over how basically that works?
Yes, I can. So if a project is approved, yes, they have to provide us with a bond, and that's to bond the public improvements that they're going to make. But past that, no, this board is not deciding on the financial stability of any developer. They're deciding on the zoning, the land planning. They're making sure it fits with our saldo and with our codes. So we are not looking at, the solvency of a developer. That's not within our purview.
So you wouldn't have any information then unless the developer proactively provided it to you, basically how they're getting their funding?
If a developer provided us information just because they want to, yes, we would have it. And because a resident asked some questions today about that, I'll ask the developer for that resident, but otherwise, no, it's not something we typically do.
Okay, thank you. I have one other question. Do any of the commissioners live within 1,500 feet of the borough of Lansdale? And I appreciate you might not have a map, but do you live less than a mile from, any of you live less than a mile from the borough of Lansdale? Okay, that's all.
I don't think so.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Okay, so that will conclude our public comment section this evening. I will now turn the meeting over to our solicitor, Lauren Gallagher, for the public hearing.
Thank you, Commissioner Hall. If you just give me 1 second. So we started this last month, getting back into the groove of having 2 meetings a month. Tonight is the scheduled public hearing for ordinance 2023-01. The purpose of this hearing is to hear comment pursuant to consideration of ordinance 2023-01, which would amend the Upper Gwynedd Township Code of Ordinances at Chapter 50 to provide for the regulation and licensing of alternative and massage therapy establishments. The exhibits this evening are T1, which is a copy of ordinance 2023-01. A copy of T2 will be a copy of the proof of publication of the legal advertisement. This was advertised for consideration this evening on September 7th, 2023. The ordinance has been included in the board's packets. The Commonwealth of Pennsylvania allows the township to regulate certain industries. The township is not permitted to regulate massage establishments themselves, but it does permit us to regulate alternative massage establishments and alternative therapy providers. So this ordinance would create a licensing system to govern those types of establishments and those types of providers. It would give the code enforcement office the ability to go in and perform inspections to ensure compliance with all of the provisions of this ordinance. And it generally sets up this licensing system for the township. This type of ordinance has been
used in other municipalities and has proven quite successful. We have consulted with the police department on this ordinance, and it is in a form ready for the board's consideration this evening.
Great, thank you. Are there any public comments related to this public hearing? No? Okay. Lauren?
If there are no public comments, then I would close the public hearing, and this matter is ready for a motion to approve or deny ordinance 2023-01.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve ordinance 2023-01, amending the Upper Gwynedd Township Code of Ordinances at Chapter 50 to provide for the regulation and licensing of alternative and massage therapy establishments? We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any board comments? Do we have any public comments? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. First up is our consent items A through D. The meeting minutes need to be revised, so we are tabling them tonight. Therefore, is there a motion to approve consent items A, C, and D?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Do we have any board comments?
Yes. Megan, can you put on, click on Parks and Rec? I try to highlight these every once in a while. This one's a good one. So that one was talking about the battle of the blood battle that we had. Scroll a little bit more, little more. We have started our budget meetings, a little more. There's pictures. Keep going. That's it. We have started our budget meetings, and with that, we have learned the success of this new camp, this teen camp. And each week, a group of teenagers and supervisors, God bless them, go take them each day to a different activity. We didn't have this years ago. I wish we would have when my kids were of that teen age. But I know there's just so much positive feedback that other communities have been calling, municipalities have been calling to find out more about our summer camps that our wonderful director, Sarah Priebus, has started with this. They go to the beach. They go to a bunch of different places for the day. Believe it or not, the one that was their least favorite was paintball. I would think that was fun, but I guess not. I guess that's all anymore. Anyway, I just wanted to point that one out in the teen camps and how popular it's been. I think it filled up in 3 minutes when it went online.
It's sold out in 2 minutes. And
2
then we
minutes.
also have a sold out program this Friday for teens as well.
So, and it's just one of
Watch out, there'll be a manhunt in the park. Teen manhunt in the park Friday night.
Thanks for the warning.
You're welcome.
So that's just one of the highlights of our Parks and Rec program this summer. And that teen camp has really been a good asset for the community and the teens in our community. So I just wanted to point that out.
Great, thank you. Do we have any public comments? Deanna, will you do the roll call?
President Hall,
Aye.
Vice President Carter,
Aye.
Commissioner McNaney,
Aye.
Commissioner Simularo.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. The next item isn't anything to pass. It's not a motion. It's just an announcement of our budget work session dates, which we announced last week at our work session. But just to remind everybody, October 18th, 2023 at 1 p.m. and October 23rd, 2023 at 4 p.m.
And Denise, is the public welcome to attend those meetings?
Yes, they are. That's why I'm announcing them.
Yes.
Please come.
And they're in this room. They're held in this room.
The township has been working with architects to design a new entryway system for our administration building, and this will secure our building and upgrade our entry to the building's ADA compliance. Is there a motion to award the building renovations project to SB Conrad, Inc. for the general contract bid in the amount of $224,170, the mechanical bid to Clipper Pipe and Service Incorporated in the amount of $41,000, and the electrical contract bid to Ann Lynch Company in the amount of $100,650?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any board comments? Do we have any public comments? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. The minimum municipal obligation is for the police pension plan and the non-uniform pension plan. The spreadsheet used for both calculations were prepared by Chuck Friedlander of the Municipal Finance Partners using assumptions based on the plan's 2023 actuarial valuation reports. Is there a motion to approve the 2024 minimum municipal obligation?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any board comments? Do we have any public comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. I will now turn the meeting over to Commissioner Carter.
Yes, we have the approval. I ask for the approval of Resolution 21-2023, recognizing October 8th through the 14th as Fire Prevention Week. As we all know, fire prevention is extremely important, not just in Upper Gwynedd, but all over the country. So we take the time to have Fire Prevention Week to enlighten students and families, and especially as school-age students, in terms of fire prevention and how we can prevent all types of fires, home fires, have home fire drills and such. And Upper Gwynedd Township Fire Department and North Penn Fire Department usually visit schools during that time of October 8th through the 14th, and pretty much the whole month of October, because it is Fire Prevention Month also. But we'd like to recognize October 8th to the 14th as Fire Prevention Week.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any board comments? Do we have any public comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Commissioner Carter. I'll now turn the meeting over to Commissioner Damsker.
Approval of Resolution 22-2023, 645 Sumneytown Pike on a two-lot subdivision.
Lauren, did you want to speak to that a little bit?
I do. We have been working with the applicant's attorney, who is here this evening, to answer any questions. There are some minor changes from the resolution that was included in the board's packets last week. There are some minor changes to the project description on the first page of the document, which the township engineer has confirmed are accurate changes. There are some changes on page 3 of the document, or I'm sorry, page 2 of the document, which references the zoning relief that was obtained by the applicant. And again, the township engineer has confirmed that the changes are accurate. There are also some changes with regard to the required agreements. Because this is a minor subdivision, a land development or escrow agreement will not be required. However, the applicant will still be required to enter into a stormwater operation and maintenance agreement and a tapping agreement with the township. And finally, there are some minor verbiage changes regarding the tapping fee that is due for Lot 2, but the amounts have not changed. Other than that, everything is consistent with the resolution that was in the board's packets last week. And again, this is in a form ready for the board's consideration this evening, and the applicant's attorney has come to the podium to answer any questions that the board may have.
Yep, Annie Neiman, attorney from Hamburg, Rubin, Nolan, Maxwell, Rubin, here on behalf of BNI Development LLC. We are happy with the resolution. So we're happy to answer any questions.
Excellent. Does anybody have any questions for her? No. Thank you for being so accessible. We really appreciate you attending both meetings. Thank you so much. So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any board comments?
Mr. Hall, I'm not sure that we have a motion.
Oh, we didn't have an actual motion.
I didn't hear
All right, let's
Commissioner Damsker.
Let's just rewind that again.
Could you just read that?
Is there a motion, Commissioner Damsker?
Yes, you mean for number 18? You're
Yes.
talking about the issue, yes.
Yes.
The approval of Resolution 22-2023, 645 Sumneytown Pike, and the two-lot subdivision.
So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any board comments? Do we have any public comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. You too. Thank you, Commissioner Damsker. I'll now turn the meeting over to Commissioner McNaney.
Thank you. First on the agenda is item number 19 for me. Will you click that on? I see some new faces here tonight, so I just wanted to make sure that everybody knows about when you see our agenda online, any blue hyperlink will get you all the information that we all have. And this is all in our packets, and it's here for you to see too. This particular agenda item is the approval of the Home at Last Dog Rescue 5K run on October 28th, 2023 from 9 to 12. It's here at our pavilion. It's a wonderful, wonderful event. And people bring their dogs in costumes and they come in costumes, and it's just a really nice event. And on that, Megan clicked it off, but there's a map too of where the run is. And it will be basically down West Point Pike to Moyer Boulevard, up North Wales Hill, through Clovercrest, and then back through the back entrance here at the complex and finish there. So that's the route for that particular race. They've been coming here for, I don't think they said, for many years to do this race. So we're glad that we can have them back again this year. So I'd like to make a motion to approve the Home at Last Dog Rescue Race.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any board comments? Do we have any public comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
The next item on the agenda, number 20, is an approval for another run on the same date, but the applicant has withdrawn the application for that race. So we don't have to take any action on that at this time. So moving right along, item number 21 is an authorization to advertise for the bid for the North Wales Moyer Boulevard pedestrian crossing signals. Megan, will you click that on too? I just wanted to point out that this paper too, the information here will let residents know the impact that it will have on our budget and any other action that needs to be taken on this. This particular crossing is right at the bottom of both North Wales Hills, right at Moyer Boulevard. It's where the Green Ribbon Trail is, and it crosses over to the other side of the Green Ribbon Trail. And we've limited the parking along there because that was hard along North Wales Road for people turning out of Moyer Boulevard. But we still noticed a lot of people walking and crossing that street at that intersection. So we thought it will have those big flashing lights so people can see, and you'll have enough time to stop for the pedestrians crossing. So I'd like to make a motion to advertise the bid for this pedestrian crossing signal.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any board comments? Do we have any public comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Commissioner McNaney. Commissioner Similaro, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you. I don't have anything on the agenda, but I do have a PSA that on behalf of the wastewater treatment plant, and also it affects the residents. Megan, can you bring up those pictures? Okay, thank you.
Wow.
What you're looking at is across, now this is very expanded. This is a cross-section of a drain pipe, like something you have in your house, and that happens to be corroded with grease. So if anybody puts grease down their drains, eventually it's going to clog up the whole drain, then it will look like that, and then you have to call a plumber to try and clean it. What you're looking at in that picture where the donut hole is, what a plumber does when he comes in is he'll put a snake down the drain, and it looks like a donut hole. Unfortunately, the plumber doesn't get the whole, all of the grease out of there. So eventually it just comes back again and you get the plumber again. And this continues until you have to get a special process to rid the pipe of all of that grease. And that's a very expensive process. And that's also a fee that the homeowner would pay, because that's a homeowner drain. Can we see number 2? This is same exact kind of picture. And what happens typically is that grease falls in on itself. So it starts and it blocks up the pipe again. So it might accumulate on the top, falls in on itself, corrodes the whole thing again, and you're snaking it again and again and again. Number 3. This is an early stage of grease obstruction. So you see how it forms. So you're still getting some flow through there, but you're also getting, that's about, I guess that's covered about 50%, about little less than 50%. And it starts on the top and the sides, and then it goes down basically. And then the last picture is, this is 75% clogged with grease. So you may want to know, what can you do about this? Well, first, you shouldn't be throwing grease down your drains. I mean, that's the main thing. And I know it's tough. We're not advocating for people to buy grease traps. I mean, all restaurants have to have grease traps. But what you can do is either start a Tupperware, and once you fry something or you have grease, you let it cool off, throw it into the Tupperware. And this is what I do. I put mine in the freezer. I have a little spot in the freezer for a small Tupperware container. And whenever I fry anything, I just put the grease on top of it, freezes. When the container's full, I throw it in the trash. Or you can use actually a Ziploc bag also. Just as long as the grease isn't hot, you can throw it into the Ziploc bag, put it in the freezer, and just keep filling it, and then throw it into the trash bin. So just a PSA, try not to throw grease down your drains, because it does get to be a very expensive project to have your drain pipes cleaned out fully, or you get the plumber back every couple months to snake it, and it just comes back eventually anyway.
Thank you, Commissioner Similaro. That was gross and informative.
Thank you.
Next up is our open and paid invoices. Do we have a motion to approve the September 2023 open invoices?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any board comments? Do we have any public comments? Deanna, will you do the roll call?
President Hall,
Aye.
Vice President Carter,
Aye.
Commissioner McNaney,
Aye.
Commissioner Similaro,
Aye.
Commissioner Damsker.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Do we have a motion to approve the September 2023 paid invoices?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Do we have any board comments? Do we have any public comments? Deanna, will you do the roll call?
President Hall,
Aye.
Vice President Carter,
Aye.
Commissioner McNaney,
Aye.
Commissioner Similaro,
Aye.
Commissioner Damsker.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Deanna. Does anyone on the board have anything else tonight?
I do.
Okay.
Shocker. So I've been, since it's back to school, I guess, and kids are doing their homework and doing all that, I decided to do my own homework and learn more about the history of Upper Gwynedd Township. I've been reading all kinds of things going back to 1947. I think it started in 1946 is where I started, but I found something interesting, and I don't know where it is, or where it was. So if anybody can help me out, I appreciate it. And if not, I will find out somehow. They used to hold their meetings at the Grove Hotel. I don't know where that is. At 1 p.m. after lunch was served. And it was usually on Saturdays. So this particular meeting that I read about was on Saturday, January 11th, 1947. And just another fun little nugget. I asked Chief Duffy today this question, and he didn't know, but he too was surprised. A patrolman's starting salary on 8/22/1966, the board approved a new patrolman's salary, $5,800 per year. You know what we pay now? And it's worth every penny what we pay now, don't get me wrong. But I just started doing this research, and I found that so interesting. And that at one point we did have supervisors, not commissioners. So there were 5 board members. And then I don't want to say what year it was because I don't have that note with me. But we did then become a first-class township. So I'll try to educate everybody as much as I can. When I was looking at through one of the books, it was typed, and the pages were so old and it smelled. But it is so informative, and this information I think is important for all of us to know about the history of our township. So I just wanted to share the policeman's salary and the other little Grove Hotel, which I have to find out where that is. Yeah, so thank you.
Sure. Anyone else? Okay, I have one thing before we close. Tomorrow night is our Park and Rec Department's last concert of the season, and it is a Billy Joel tribute band, the River of Dreams, Billy Joel tribute band specifically. It's at 7 p.m. They are going to have a menagerie food truck will be there, as well as the North Wales Elementary Lemonade Stand Initiative, as well as your commissioners scooping sundaes for $5. We have some leftover ice cream from the carnival, and so all of the sundaes we sell tomorrow night will benefit the Commissioner Scholarship Fund. So please join us one last time for one last concert tomorrow night at 7 and support our Park and Rec Department and come get a sundae. Thank you so much. Meeting is adjourned.